As I told you guys before, and I'll say it again, I always have the best guests on my television program. This gentleman is no exception to that wonderful statement I made. He's the one and only Jim Califiore. Calafiore. That's my first time actually pronouncing his last name. All right. I'm here with the one and only Jim Califiore. How you doing, Jim?
Doing good, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. My audience may not know much about you, so please tell me your origin story when it comes to comic book illustration.
I started, my first work was published in 1988, 89, like that. I worked for a small independent publisher called Caliber Press. It was a very good independent publisher. A lot of guys came out of there. Jim O'Barr's The Crow came out of there. Guy Davis, Vince Locke, Brian Bendis did work for them. And I worked at that for several years, a couple of years, until I moved on to Valiant, which was, I guess, my first step into the big time. And from there, it was up then to Marvel and DC, and I've been doing it for 32 years now, I think. Maybe a little longer.
So you worked for your very first independent company. What was it like for working for the big two, DC and Marvel?
It was very different than working for the independents. When I worked at the independents, I wrote and drew everything myself, and it was a lot of freedom there. When you get into the bigs, obviously you have to work on their characters, but it was also the chance I got to draw everybody I wanted to ever draw. I mean, I grew up on the Hulk and all these characters, and it was fun to finally be doing it for a living and actually being able to survive.
That's cool. So what was it like for you to work on the Batman franchise?
I've done different things in the Batman books. I haven't really done a complete run on anything super long. My biggest thing I did was the Gotham Underground miniseries that Frank Chieri had written. And so I can only say my Batman experience has been perfect because I got to draw almost every single Batman character I could have wanted to draw at that time. So it was a lot of fun. It was a good series, too. Very good series.
Okay. So what are you up to these days? What are you working on how's the project going for you so far?
Right now, for the last several years, I've been working on creator-owned properties that I've been funding through Kickstarter. My newest book is Ned, Lord of the Pit. It's a supernatural comedy because, as anybody can guess, Ned should never be a Lord of the Pit, anybody named Ned. And that can be checked out at nedlordofthepit.com. And it's sort of back to my independent roots where I'm writing and drawing everything myself, and it's a lot of fun. And I recently did another Batman project, so I'm always dabbling back into the mainstream, but I've been having a lot more fun doing my independent creator-owned stuff. Also have another book series running called Leaving Megalopolis that I do with Gail Simone, and we had worked together on Secret Six, which was a lot of fun for DC.
That's cool, man. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself working on your own book and that you're able to dabble back to the major leagues. Are there any dream projects you wanted to work on but couldn't do it?
My favorite character at Marvel is the Hulk. I grew up on the Hulk. The first book I ever bought as a kid was Hulk 127. I can remember that. And I grew up on that book. And it's a ship that's long sailed on it, I'm sure, but I would have loved to have drawn the Hulk book itself. I've drawn him plenty of times. I've drawn almost everybody in a book because of guest stars or crossovers. But I guess to have worked on the Hulk book on a regular basis, and I'm pretty sure that boat is not only sailed, it's gone, sunk, burned, and is at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, for the record, you are a superstar artist, so I don't think that ship has officially sailed. Just it's still waiting for you at the docks. Well, all right. Were there any obscure or weird comic books that you worked on that you don't want no one to know about?
I don't think so. I mean, my stuff at Caliber Press is pretty obscure. And it's I like to feel I've come a long way as an artist since then. So I look back on the artwork and I'm a little cringy, but it's still stuff worth taking a look at.
All right, you heard what the man said. Jim, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending time with me and my audience. Yes, this video will be on YouTube, and I will definitely send Jim the link so he can watch it himself. And, okay. This is his business card. Yes, I have no shame in promoting Painfully Normal Productions. Jim Califiore. Fiore, right? Yeah. Italian last name, right? Yeah, okay, all right. Woohoo! Well, you know what that means. Well, Jim, thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you for being a blessing. Keep kicking ass and taking no prisoners, okay?
All right.
All right, you heard the man saying. Bye-bye. Yes, y'all. Yes, this is your boy Amari. I'm still here at Garden State Comic Book Festival 2022, New Jersey, July 10th. I'm here with a very important and historic superstar artist. Yes, you heard what I said. Superstar artist, Fernando Ruiz. How you doing, man?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for that great intro.
Well, as for me doing my intro, I always try to give you guys my best because you guys are amazing. So, without further ado, let's get this interview on. I just want to know, how did you get your start in comic books and animation and art?
Well, I was always a fan of comics, cartoons. I was drawing all my life. I went to college for fine art, but I like I said, I always loved cartoons and comics. So when I finished college, I went to the Kubert School because I wanted to, formally study cartoons and how to make art specifically for comics. And one of the great things about the school is that they always, every year, they invite different comic book companies and really all kinds of companies that hire artists. And they bring them to the school to review the graduating students' portfolios. So when I was graduating, one of the companies that came was Archie Comics. And they came to the school. They looked at my portfolio. The great Victor Gorelick, who just passed away a couple of years ago, he was the editor-in-chief at Archie. He looked at my portfolio. He liked what I could do. And so he offered me a job right there. So I was lucky in that I graduated and I went right into my first job right away. And that ended up lasting 22 years.
And it's safe to say your parents are very proud of you for that great achievement, correct?
Well, they were happy that all that art school money didn't go to waste.
That's cool, man. Yeah, you have a great and wonderful history with Archie Comics. So what was your very first Archie pencil assignment?
Oh, I remember it. It was, I forget what the story was called, but it was... I remember the issue. It was an Archie's Pals and Gals Double Digest number 8. And I forget what the story was called, but it was about if you need to wear your glasses, you should wear your glasses. And don't not wear them because you're vain and don't think you look good with glasses.
That's cool, man. So, like, since you've been with Archie for such a long time, are you like a big-time editor with the company?
No. I was always a freelancer. I was always a freelance artist with them. And like I said, I did it for 22 years, and then I worked for all different other companies.
Okay, because I see you have some wonderful artwork here. Not just Archie-based, but you got the Shazam family, you got X-Men, Avengers. I don't know who this busty chick is.
That's incredible.
Oh. Okay.
Superman.
Oh, Superman. Oh, look, he got the mother load right here.
Those are all different Archie pages from over the years.
Oh my gosh, this is the jackpot right here, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is jackpot. Wow, that's some beautiful stuff, man. So, I notice you have some color artwork in here. Is this color? This is Copic or this is watercolor?
Those are Copic markers.
Okay. Oh wow, this is beautiful, man. Got Nightcrawler, Archie, Veronica. Yep. Oh, Betty too. Oh wow. Oh, Shellhead in the Shachirian armor. It's really amazing. Yeah. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. You got a threesome going on here. Oh wow, wow. Shadowcat. Okay, so what are you working on currently right now?
Well, right now, I'm working on something I don't think I could talk about just yet. but
All right, he can't spill the beans, so we just gotta wait and see. And that's fair. That's understandable. I'm going to be a reasonable host and not ask any more questions about that. So you worked on Incredible. That is that like your book or?
It's not my book. It's a character created by Giselle Legacy for her company Pixie Tricks Comics, which is primarily a web comics company, but they do some print comics. One of them is Incredible, who comes out in a series of one shots, and I've been lucky enough to pencil those.
Okay, okay. All right, guys, we got to get out of here because I'm not allowed to ask him any more questions about his secret projects. We all got to wait and. No, we can ask, but he can't tell. So there's no point in strangling the kitty. Fernando, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here. I hope to see you again on another show.
Anytime. Thank you for coming by and having this chat with me.
This has been one of my most memorable chats I ever had in my life with a professional artist such as yourself. Thank you for being here, man.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Woo! This man puts me to shame now. He makes me feel humbled. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Until next time. Bye-bye. As I told you guys before, I've always get the best guests. I'm never, ever going to let you guys down. You're wondering who's the gentleman sitting in front of the camera. Well, I'm going to tell you this much. He's a fucking legend in the anime industry and also live action industry. He has done so much work, it's just too numerous to count. I'm talking about the one and only, the dynamic William Winckler, right?
Yeah, well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm William Winckler. So, what was your? Did you have a specific question for me, or you want me to just talk about what I've?
So, please tell me your origins, or how did you get involved in the entertainment business?
Well, that's a. How did I get into the entertainment industry? It's a very long story, and part of it is that I come from a show business background. My father, Robert Bobby Winckler, was a well-known child actor in Hollywood during the 1930s and 40s, during the golden age of Hollywood, and he, worked in over 90 films and over 200 radio shows with all the stars of the golden age of Hollywood. And years and years later, I got into the business, and I began. I was always a writer, and began writing. For anime. I enjoyed anime, classic anime, and worked for Tatsunoko Production Company and produced Tekkaman the Space Knight. That was my first animated television show that was syndicated in the 80s in 1984-85. I was very young at the time, and this was way before a lot of the companies that exist today. Back in the old days of anime, I knew Fred Ladd, who produced, Astro Boy, Gigantor, Kimber the White Lion. What a wonderful guy he was. And Peter Fernandez, who was Speed Racer, another really nice guy. Still friends with Corinne Orr. She's a dear. She calls me all the time. And, it was just amazing to be involved with those people. And then all the new people that I work with today. So it was like I had one foot in the analog world, and another foot in the digital world, and did many anime shows, Guy King, Dangar Days, Star Zinger, Space Pirate Captain Harlock, Fist of the North Star, Gegege no Kitaro, Kitaro's Graveyard Gang was what we called it. Many shows.
I have some questions. I have a few questions. When you were working on Tekkaman the Space Knight, what was your role on that production with Sandy? Was it Sandy Frank Productions or Fred Ladd?
No, Tekkaman the Space Knight was a William Winckler production. Sandy Frank wasn't involved with it, nor was Fred Ladd. I was the writer and producer of Tekkaman and the co-director of the English dub, and I did various voices in it on the side. And it was a series that we syndicated on television. And what's remarkable about that is that the audience for syndicated television, the kids' audience back in 1984, was infinitely bigger than any primetime major network audience or Netflix audience you'd get today. The reason for that is there was no internet. There was no real there was no phone, there was no YouTube, there was none of this other stuff. So if you had a show, if you wanted to watch television, you had to watch your ABC, NBC, CBS, or your syndicated television local channels in your particular city. So when we were on in San Francisco and Atlanta and Chicago and all these different cities, we had millions and millions and millions and millions of kids watching. And, it was just phenomenal, the audience that you could get. You could capture an audience. And Tekkaman the Space Knight did that. And then, of course, we had VHS tapes that were out in Toys R Us and all these other places that, they were like 100,000 units sold or something at the time, which was on par with what Disney was doing later. Congress Video Group released it, and then another company called LD. So,
Well, that's good to hear you guys had it on VHS. Did you guys try to bring any Tekkaman toys to the States?
Yes. Well, you see, first and foremost, we were producing shows. So we did have some limited merchandise, but we were not like Hasbro was a big toy company that was, they were sort of reverse engineering shows as half-hour ads for toy lines. We weren't doing that. We were more interested in producing good shows and getting the shows out there, and the income was based on the syndicated money that was coming in and the barter deals and all that. But there was a lady named Peggy Sharon of Action for Children's Television at the time, and she was a lady who was always going around. She was very angry about the shows that were half-hour ads for toys. And when we would be at NATPE conventions, she would be running around. And I remember she asked my father and I, do you have a toy line for this? Is this a toy commercial? And we said, no, we don't. It's not, But she was a big advocate for having programs that were not too toy first, So we were not doing that, but later on I wound up doing shows for various companies like Toei and Bandai was very much involved in the Ultraman movies that I made.
Well, I have to say, your father's a phenomenal voice actor. I loved him as Dr. Richardson for the Tekkaman show. Like, his voice really touched my heart. I know that he's in another dimension, but are you still in contact with Bill Heatherly Jr.?
Well, regarding Tekkaman, thanks for the words about my dad. My father had this giant career, as I told you, and then he caught the tail end of World War II. He volunteered to go into the Army Air Corps, came back. His parents wanted him to go to college, and he became interested in law and had a very successful entertainment law firm. And he represented tons of people he worked with as a kid, and he was, doing all that. At the time I made Tekkaman, I said, Dad, how'd you like to get back into show business as a voice actor? And he really didn't want to act anymore, but he said, okay, for you, I'll do it. And so he was the voice of Dr. Edward Richardson in Tekkaman the Space Knight, and his voice matched the character so great, and I think he enjoyed doing it. And he was also the voice of the villain, Emperor Deverall, this sort of octopus-looking creature that was the leader of the Waldarians, the evil characters. So that was a lot of fun. I lost contact with Bill Heatherly Jr. and Reginald Bennett, and sadly, many of the people who were involved, remember, this was going back to 1984, many of these people are no longer with us. Kathy Pruitt is gone, and Clancy Circo is gone, and so Ken Camp. It's sad. I don't want to talk about it because it's very sad. It's very sad when people go. This is sort of a recurring theme right now, in that I've known so many people in the industry or people I've worked with, and many are still with us, but so many are now gone, and like Peter Fernandez and such. So it's that's life, and based on the timeline I was working in. It was analog world and then later digital world. But a lot of wonderful, nice, talented people, wonderful voice actors, and Bill Hetterly was hilarious as Tekka-Man. He would jump up and down in the booth and scream, "Space lands, spur cutters," and all these cry. He was like a madman in the dubbing booth, which was perfect dubbing for kids at that time in the 80s. You have to understand, it was a kids' show. It was meant for children, and it worked beautifully at the time for what we were trying to do. And God bless Bill Hetterly Jr. I loved Bill. And so.
Well, what I'm about to ask you is very selfish, but will you ever do a redubbing of the Tekka-Man Space Knight franchise?
Well, it's you never know what'll happen in the future. I'm still very much active in the business, and I've got movie projects and different things going on, and some projects with Takeshi Yagi, one of the directors of Ultraman Max, or the producer of Ultraman Max, and was involved with Ultraman Tegan, Ultraman Dyna, and these other shows. Takeshi Yagi and I are doing different projects. I'm doing other projects as well. You never know. I may work again with Tatsunoko on something, and if they wanted me to revisit Tekka-Man and redo the show in some way, we could. I would be open to it, certainly.
All right. Now we have to get on to the guilty pleasure questions. Ultraman. I love the Ultraman franchise. What is it you think that Ultraman is lacking for the U.S. audience?
Your question is, what is Ultraman lacking?
To catch on with the great U.S. audience, because Ultraman has a. I'm sorry. What is that Ultraman is lacking for the U.S. audience? Because Ultraman does have a great fan base here in America, but it's not a big fan base. What do you feel Ultraman needs to do in order to capture the hearts of all Americans?
Well, I think that Ultraman has been exposed to the United States audience and U.S. audience, and I think that it continues to. There's a lot of plans and a lot of activity for Ultraman. I wrote, produced, and directed 6 Ultraman feature films, and we had some limited theatrical screenings of 2 of the pictures. Ultraman X, the movie, which was the 50th anniversary film of Ultraman, along with Ultraman Ginga. And those were very successful, and the audiences loved them. And so there were a lot of plans to, continue to exploit and get exposure for Ultraman. But it's a fun show. The original classic series did have a tremendous amount of exposure in syndicated television in the early 70s. Many little boys in elementary schools during that time, they all knew Ultraman. So it is known, and I'm sure Tsuburaya has a lot of plans to continue with Ultraman in the United States.
So here's my burning question: who was the English American? Was it Earl Hammond, the voice of Ultraman, or was it someone else?
The original voice of Hayata, Ultraman, in the original dub, the 1966 dub that United Artists did, was voiced by Earl Hammond. But his real name was Earl Hamburger, like McDonald's hamburger. And Corinne Orr told me some fun. Corinne Orr, the voice of Trixie in Speed Racer, knew Earl very well. He did voices at Tetra. Tetra was the New York dubbing studio that everybody used in the 60s, and that's where Fred Ladd did all of his stuff, and Zavala Reese and all of them did Speed Racer and all these other shows. And Earl Hammond had a big sense of humor, a great sense of humor, and used to tell all sorts of naughty jokes. And one time he was in an elevator with Corinne Orr, and they were going down, and as soon as the doors opened of the elevator, he turned to her and said, You want how much for what? Anyway, people were laughing. But, and anyway, Earl Hammond was a very talented guy, and he was married to a voice actress as well. Anyway, that's Earl Hammond. That's who he was. That's who was Ultraman. Hayata.
Wow, I did not know that. I mean, I did see video footage of him recording Thundercats, where Earl Hyman, guy that plays Panthro and the Ancient Spirits of Evil, and you're definitely right about him having a sense of humor because he was telling a lot of naughty jokes in that session. I'm not going to repeat it on camera. Wow, wow. So, are you working on anything currently right now, or everything's right now is hush hush?
I'm working on a lot of things right now, and I've written several new novels. I have a Western horror novel out called Demon Head of Tucson, which is I love thank you. I love the Western genre. Yes, I, I love the Western genre, the action Western genre. My dad did a lot of Western movies. I was exposed to those as well. And so Demon Head of Tucson is a Western horror novel that you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Apple iBooks. It's an ebook, paperback, hardbacks. I also have a kids novel out. I have a pen name W.R. Winckler for my children's books. And I've got a book called Magical Miniature Golf, which is a fun series for kids. Same thing, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Apple iBooks, and others. And I've got other novels out. But yes, there's a movie project that's potentially I'm going to do in Las Vegas, and that I wrote. I wrote the screenplay for that. And then are some projects with Takeshi Yagi, which we discussed, and COVID kind of put a halt on some of that. And there are a couple other things going on. Another Western, potentially. I'm in the process right now of doing another novel, which is a very unique Western, another weird Western.
William, thank you so much for your time. You are amazing. I don't care what the U.S. government says about you. It's not true. You are a wonderful guy, man. Thank you for being part of the Tekkaman franchise, the Ultraman franchise. And don't forget to pick up his book, The Demon Head of Tucson by William Winckler. It's amazing. Thank you also for sharing your father with us on your Tekkaman project, because you didn't have to, but you did anyway. And that's really awesome of you, man. Do you have any special messages for the fans out there?
Well, thank you so much for that. I would just say I enjoy the stuff that I've done. I hope you have a lot of fun watching it and getting a kick out of all the different things I've done. I've worked in many different genres, many different films, and I calculated I probably wrote around 160 half-hour anime scripts, which was an awful lot of stuff for one guy, I guess. I don't know. To direct, write, produce, and direct, wear all those hats. But I enjoy those films: Guy King, Dan Gardez, Starzinger, Tekkaman, the Ultraman movies, Ultraman X, and all the other stuff. Enjoy the books, and take care and be safe.
You heard what the man said. Take care and be safe. Thank you so much for your time, William. Keep kicking ass and taking no prisoners. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.
No, a friend of mine who...
Hey, how you guys doing? As I told you guys before, I always have the best guests, the most amazing guests on my program. And this gentleman here, oh my gosh, I've been dying to meet him for a long time. He's from the Bat Team. He's a superstar artist. I'm talking about the one and only Kevin Alteiri? Yes. All right, shit. All right, good. I didn't fuck up his last name. This is great. First, I want to say thank you so much for being here, man. You know, I thought I would never meet one of the members of the Batman franchise from here. And so I just want to know your origin story. How did you get involved with comics and art?
How would I what? Your question?
How did you get started with comic books and art and animation?
I mean, I've been drawing ever since I was a kid. I actually went and saw, my dad took me to go see Seventh Voyage of Sinbad when I was a little kid. And when the Cyclops came out of the cave, I just about crapped my pants. And I just went home and started drawing. And I was drawing pirates and, Sinbad and Cyclops, and from then on I've just been drawing and always dreamed of getting into animation and getting into special effects and doing films.
Sounds like your father's your hero, man. Like, he saved the day for you. Like, he was the inspiration. That's cool, man. That's fucking amazing. So what was it like working on your very first TV production for you?
Very first TV production was Kid Video back in Oh, shit. Yeah. back in the early 80s. It's like that was the first cartoon. I'd been doing stop motion animation with Dave Allen, and I'd been doing storyboards for, a lot of the really crappy but really great science fiction movies that were being done at that time. And then I heard about this new company, Deke, that did Inspector Gadget, which I loved.
Oh my God. First, I got to stop you and say this. Kid Video was a copyright nightmare because of the music.
Yes. No, but that was Chaim Saban, and it's like, and the one thing that Chaim could do is he could license music. So I was doing like these really quickie, cheap music videos for, all the bands, like Duran Duran. I was doing Duran Duran and, and Billy Idol and all. They got all the pop stars back then, and I'm always been a music snob at the time, so I didn't really think anything of it. But actually, it was pretty crazy. And now you can't see the cartoon because all the bands owned all that music.
Yeah, I know about Deke. It stands for Do It Cheap.
Yes, that's what we always said.
Behind the owner's back.
But it was a French company that opened up offices in Los Angeles, French and Japanese company. So the name actually means Dissemination Information Communication.
Wow, that's crazy. So did you ever work on Mask or... Oh my gosh, I have so many questions about that show.
I remember doing the storyboards for Mask, and it was done so quickly that I ended up doing all these, how they always fight in the desert. That's all we could afford to do is like just draw mesas and stuff. There's nothing in the script saying what's that gas station doing out in the middle of the desert. It's because we didn't have time to draw anything else other than desert mountains and stuff.
Here's the thing that drove me really crazy. Matt Tracker, billionaire, philanthropist. Was Scott Tracker actually Matt Tracker's biological son? Because that's the one rumor nobody ever discussed. Like, you will see him with the kid, but there's no wife or no mother.
That was, no one knows. I mean, I ask those questions when I'm working on it. I'm saying, this is really a dumb script, man. It's like, I don't know, I can't believe I'm drawing this stuff.
Because that drove me crazy. I mean, I love the show because of the fact that it combined a little bit of G.I. Joe with Transformers, and it was amazing. It really was. But for the second season, that killed everything for me. I don't want to see a racing series.
No, I was long gone from it by then. But that's kind of how Deke was. It was like, I was on Kid Video that season. That was a network show. The season ended. Then they made a deal for Jason the Wheeled Warriors, which was a toy line. And then they made a deal with Hasbro, which was a toy line for Mask. And so you would jump from show to show to show,
So can you tell me about Jason the Wheeled Warriors? Because that was my older brother's favorite show. I have the box set at home. I love watching it. And I know that they were getting ready to make a movie. They were going to kill Aldrich. What the hell went wrong?
Oh, I think nothing really went wrong. That was Deke's, the French studio, that was their creation, and they made a toy deal. So it all depends on the toys. Like I designed Saw Boss, as one of the designers. Yeah, and we would like just make these things up, and then they would build toys out of them. Now, if the toys didn't sell, that was the end of the series. They just wouldn't do any more.
Yeah, because I noticed it was animated by 3 different big-time Japanese studios. And, were they all embarrassed working on those shows? Because I know a lot of Japanese, they have a mindset when it comes to American cartoons. If it looks like shit, they don't want to work on it. They'll make up every excuse in the world.
No, the Japanese studios, like when you would go to Japan, Deke had its own Japanese studio, which was, yeah. But then they worked with TMS and a studio called Kurumi. Yeah, but the connections that I worked there with Dan Reba, Brad Rader, all these guys, that we ended up, when I got hired on to do Batman, I hired those same guys. So it's like and also the same connections existed for the animation studios. So Spectrum, that did the pilot for Batman, Man-Bat, on leather wings, that was it was basically Spectrum was formed, but it was actually Kurumi that did a lot of the Deke shows. So we were working with the same guys that we worked with before.
Here's the thing, like, I know when the Batman movie came out, Mask of the Phantasm, Spectrum did all the preparation work, but then they sent all the animation to be done by the Korean animators.
Yes and no.
Okay, explain.
Well, it's like they always work with Korean studios, but sometimes the Korean studios would do layout. Sometimes it's all done in Japan. Sometimes the backgrounds are sent to Korea, and the painters would be over there. But it was like a mix and match. And we really didn't know what the studios did or how they did it. We just were interested in the quality. TMS was notorious. Like TMS, I could tell when TMS would do an in-house job like Two-Face, Part 1, that was TMS doing their own thing, and whereas Part 2 was done in Korea. And it's like, it's really well done, it's really good. It's not quite TMS. Same thing with Demon's Quest. That was TMS, but it was actually TMS sending it to Korea.
My favorite episode was when the Grey Ghost and Batman.
Yeah.
My favorite episode and the best episode of Batman, this is my opinion, was the Grey Ghost, where Adam West and Kevin Conroy, they met up on screen. That was an amazing animation done by Spectrum Animation.
Yeah, and I had nothing to do with that episode, other than being in the office next to Bruce while he was doing that one, and
Well, Uncle Brucey is not here today, so we only care about Kevin Alteiri, okay? When we run into Uncle Brucey, then we'll deal with Uncle Brucey.
All right. Now that show, it's a great show. That's Bruce.
Oh, of course. It's known as the Bruce verse or Tim verse. I mean, honestly, when the Batman show came out on Fox 5 in the 90s, you guys did amazing fucking work. Like, it was crazy. I love the action, I love the stories, but when it was moved to WB, that's TV station, things got watered down. That's something I did not like.
Well, I was gone by that time. I was doing Gen 13.
Oh yeah, the Gen 13 unreleased movie. Yeah, but not many people knew about it.
Yeah, well, it was released all over the world through Paramount distribution, and Disney Buena Vista had the American United States rights. So, and they bought Gen 13 because, well, they do things like Hero High, and those things are definitely like rip-offs of Gen 13, the concept.
Okay, before we go any further, we can't do that on my show. I'm not against you speaking certain things, but I just don't want to get jumped. I know the mouse is very powerful.
Yeah, but that's what they do, and now they, it's like you can see where they're going. It's like they acquired the entire Marvel universe, and that's kind of what they were trying to do back then too. But Gen 13 was they were going to try and get that cast of characters and then create their own superhero universe to compete with what Warner Brothers was doing.
Exactly. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for just opening my eyes to all this hidden information. Man, thank you for being here. You made my time here at this show totally awesome and amazing. I mean, thank you for telling me the real story behind Deke Entertainment. At least now I know better. And thank you for letting me know about Mask, because even you didn't have that privileged information. Now I have to go and ask the voice actor, I forgot his name, but I'm going to ask him what's the story with, Matt Trekker and his son. Because you thought it was stupid because of the fact that, where's his wife?
It's just there, and it was just you get a script and you're doing storyboards and you have all these questions, and no, you just have to. They just said they don't care. So that board is due in 48 hours, so get it done.
So who was the actual creator of Mobile Armor Strike Command?
Hasbro.
I mean, I know they bought it, but who owned it? Who created it?
I don't know.
Damn.
It It was probably a group decision done at Hasbro. You know,
No problem. Because I know Mobile Armored Strong Command was produced by Kenner Toys, and then Hasbro acquired Kenner.
it was Kenner Toys. Yeah, well, it would have been Kenner then.
Okay.
We did shows with Kenner. We did shows with Nico. We did shows with all the toy companies. That's right. Cops was Hasbro.
Cops, that show was fucking amazing. I loved it. I wish it had continued, and I wish they turned it into a live action movie.
Hasbro sunk a lot into that, and we did, I think, 165 episodes, a syndication package. The toys didn't sell as well as Hasbro wanted them to.
Gotcha.
So that's the end of the series. No matter how popular it is.
Did you also work on Masters of the Universe? Damn. It's okay, man. Kevin, thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you for kicking ass and taking no prisoners. Until next time. Guys, that's a wrap. As I told you guys before, I always promise you that I will always have the best guests. Today is no exception. I have one of the best voice actors in the business. You know him, you love him. He knows how to do the Kamehameha wave. He knows how to use the Mega Buster. He's also a chick magnet. It's true. Even if he doesn't agree with it. I'm talking about the one and only Ian James Cortland. How you doing?
Hey, hi guys. Nice to be here at Garden State Comic Fest. So many words, but it's freezing and my brain is frozen.
That's okay. I just want to know a little bit about your origin story. How did you get started in acting and voiceover?
Well, it started when I was a very young kid. I was a filmmaker, and I was into puppetry and magic and all sorts of things. So I was always kind of performing, and that translated into doing voices for my own little animated films. And then I graduated to doing radio and TV commercial voiceovers in Vancouver, because that was quite a big, thriving business in the early 80s. And then naturally, when animation work started to come to Canada and Vancouver specifically, I was already sort of in the loop. And that's the beginning.
So what was your very first anime voiceover job?
Ooh, anime? That's a really good question. Dr. Tofu, I think, might have been, and that's, you guys will know. You can look it up, but the character was Dr. Tofu. I think that was the first one I did. We did a lot of dubbing, and honestly, some of the titles changed. But in terms of a really big anime production, it was Dragon Ball.
Okay, so when you started working on Dragon Ball Z for not Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So what was the first character you played in the Dragon Ball franchise?
I'm pretty sure it was Goku. And I also played...
Was it Teenage Goku or was it Young Goku?
It was Teenage Goku. Because Young Goku, I think, was Saffron Henderson. I think. I'm old.
That's okay. So... when they promoted you to the Dragon Ball Z franchise, like, I was told that it was two guys voicing the role of Goku. It was you and Peter Kalamis.
Yeah, Peter Kalamis replaced me. I was really busy working a lot. And Dragon Ball, with all of its screaming and other issues, there was some producer issues and just behind-the-scenes stuff that wasn't the best, and I decided to say bye-bye. And then Peter came in and replaced me and did a fantastic job.
Yeah. You're also on one of my favorite shows back in the 80s, Captain N and the Game Master. You played Dr. Wily.
Yes, I did, Dr. Wily. The guy with the wheeze. Yeah, that was an early series that I did. I think that was one of the first. There was a handful all around that same time.
And also, you were on the French co-production of The Botsmaster.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Hiss. Dr. Hiss. Yeah, man, that was You're digging deep into the vault.
Also, you played the Vortex for Double Dragon. And here's the funny thing. All the kids in my school, they didn't want to be Billy or Jimmy Lee. They wanted to be Vortex because
Really?
I'm about to say something that's going to get me in trouble.
Okay.
He had all the best choreographed fight scenes ever.
I'm not going to disagree, but I cannot, for the life of me, remember that voice. I remember, doing it or being in the series, but I'm going to have to look that up. I got some homework.
Yeah, a lot of the kids in my school, they really love Vortex. They felt that he was a better character than Billy and Jimmy Lee. But don't tell those guys I said that.
No, I won't. And clearly the producers didn't care because I wasn't in that series a lot. But yeah, that's interesting.
And one of the odd jobs that I've seen you in was the Darkstalkers American style animation. How did that happen? Because here's the thing, I never ever saw an episode on any TV station at all.
I don't think I saw it either. I think that's one of the mysteries of the universe. Some of these shows you do, and well, first of all, I don't watch the stuff that I do. It's just not something I'm terribly interested in. Hey, let's sit down and watch me for half an hour or 10 hours. So it's not unusual that I wouldn't see a production that I was in, but Darkstalkers, that's a weird one.
Yeah, it was extremely weird. When I watched at least one episode, I was like, this is some bullshit. It really was. Now I got to get to the one of the things I love so much. I really loved you playing Mega Man. You are the best Mega Man voice actor there is, period.
Thank you. The OG Mega Man, sizzling circuits. Yeah, that was a great role. And I did the voice for his dog Rush. It was like a bad Scooby-Doo.
Here's the funny thing, there are two renditions of that Ruby Spears had worked on. They worked on a straight Japanese version where it was all Japanese style animation, and there was an American style done by Studio Dean. Why did he give Mega Man muscles? He didn't need muscles.
No, he didn't. Those are questions way above my pay grade.
Okay. I also saw you in, I also heard your voice in The Warriors of Virtue, the movie.
Yes, that was a great experience. Working with the director and that was actually probably might have been the first kind of big movie that I did. I'm not sure, but that was fun.
Okay. So one more question I have to ask, because I got to do a follow-up interview with you. Are you going to be involved in the live-action Beast Wars movie?
No. That's a hard no. Rarely do us lowly voice actors get called up when they're going to do a big movie. It's just the way it is. It's a reality of the business. It would be nice to get a little nod here and there, but no, I'm not going to have anything to do with that.
All right, guys, listen, we're going to follow up with a part 2 with Ian James Corlett because I feel there's way more I need to discuss with him, Cameron, because, I don't want to waste this opportunity. But we'll be back right after these messages.